Hello, everybody. We are here today with Darby, who is like one of my heroes. Darby and I met a few years ago, and he's inspiring in sales. He works at where do you work?
Agency Mastery
Uh,
360.
and you've been there a long time,
Not long in the grand
couple
scheme of things,
years.
but yeah, I've been there 3 years now, so
Yeah,
good enough.
3 years is pretty good. And so the reason I brought you on here, we are in Geek Speak in our Facebook group, but we also are on YouTube and a couple other channels in our podcast, which we actually started because of the group I was in with you, right?
You drank the
So
Kool-Aid.
I did, and it was really life changing, and I had to go and implement. And that's why I moved on. But I wanted all my agency friends and people interested in sales to get to meet you. And let's really talk about sales because the market's changed. Agencies aren't getting those phone calls like they used to, right? I'm competing. I had to compete this week for my job that I have with this client. For 2 years I've been with them. And here comes this other agency, and I looked at their stuff and they are good. They look good. I've proven myself for 2 years, but I'm not the only one coming up against this. And so I know other salespeople or other agencies are struggling with sales. So I thought perfect timing to talk to you. And so I figure you'd take me through what is the problems that you're seeing with agency sales because you talk to agency owners. Are they struggling? Is it in my head? Tell me everything.
Yes, everybody's struggling with something, right? But I think most people struggle with sales because they take it in such a broad view. Sales is just this scary word that lives in the hills, and it's people fail, I think, to break down the different components of sales and then addressing them individually and making sure that there's something that's well thought out, process driven, value driven at each stage in the sales cycle. I talk to so many people that don't even really have a complete buyer's journey mapped out, or they don't really have a clear understanding of their sales process and their sales cycle in terms of timeframes and desired outcomes and moving from one stage to the next. And so many people just wing it because they just are able to connect with people and talk with people, and they jump on a call and they can solve a problem and then they throw a price tag on it and it works. And that's great if you want to do it yourself forever. But until you get things to be a little more process driven, you're going to have a hard time when it comes to predictability. You're going to have a hard time with having something that you can eventually work yourself out of little pieces at a time to where you can focus on some of the other things in the business.
So interesting because you say I feel guilty because when we first met, you took me on this journey and you showed me where my processors were broken. And now we've grown and we've done all the things to fix our process. And then we have other things broken. And as I talk to you, I realize might be a bit of my sales process. I wanna be a good closer, and I can think I am, but the reality is, am I? And do I have a process, and can I hand it off? So, how do you direct other agencies in fixing their sales pipeline initially? How do you
Man,
fix yours?
I'm really passionate about the discovery process. It sounds so stupid to say that out loud, but it's true.
I don't think it's stupid.
I think it's so overlooked. I think so many people don't really put a lot of thought and effort into that discovery process other than from what they're trying to get out of it from the salesperson perspective, right? They're trying to qualify to make sure that they have budget. They're trying to assess the level of importance and their willingness to move forward. Are they a good candidate? Are they a good prospect? Um, but they're not really doing enough to demonstrate value, to build a relationship, to affirm in the prospect's eyes that they're a good fit for them. I use a dating analogy on strategy calls on a regular basis. And I think dating and sales are so similar in a lot of ways. Now, fortunately, I've been married a very long time and I haven't had to go through any dating bullshit in a very long time. But if I did, you would never show up to a first date, talk all about yourself, and ask that person a bunch of questions that have nothing to do with helping them. You wouldn't just show up and throw up all over a person and, oh, these are all the great things about me. Look at all the great things about what we do. You would show up to a first date and you would ask questions about them. You're trying to show them how you can be a potentially good fit for them in their eyes. I think that's where it really starts, is just making sure that you're building that relationship from the onset and really demonstrating to that person that you truly have their best interest at heart and finding a solution for them, whether that's with you or somewhere else. And having a line of questions and things designed to enable you to do that.
And so you have a bunch of questions you ask, or do you let the conversation just flow and you're just there to learn about them for a little bit and give them some helpful advice, potentially?
I have a format that I follow each and every single time without fail. I have a little line of questions that I have on a document on my iPad, and I create a fresh copy every time I start a discovery call, and I take notes diligently each and every single time. And I follow the process. And I've been doing it for a long time. I've done it other places. And that's, I think, where people fail is you get a level of confidence when you're doing things well, when you're following the process. And then you naturally just start to deviate in little bits and pieces further and further away from that as you start to wing it because you're not following the process. And next thing you wake up one day and you're so far off base from where you were in the beginning and what was working, right? That's the thing. Jason and I have this thing all the time where we'll have a conversation. We'll say, "Hey, remember when we used to do that thing that really worked really well?" And he'll say, "Yeah, I remember." And we'll go, "Why did we stop doing it?" And we're like, "I have no idea why we stopped doing that." And then we'll say, "Maybe we should start doing that again." And then we do. But I think it's just natural human tendency that
Go off
you
the
deviate
path,
and you need something to
pull you
get you
back.
back on track. Yeah,
Now,
I every time without fail.
most agency owners will say, I get most of my leads from inbound. This is true. We do. Once we get a reputation, you do get referral business, but we always need that plan about getting sales, right? About going out. And so do you include the marketing in part of that, or are you doing like outreach on the phone, or like how are you managing it? I know you all have a bunch of funnels because I was in one. And
So, from a business development perspective, me personally, I do very little. Fortunately, we have a pretty strong marketing arm and did prior to me being here. But I will say that the outreach that I do is for our podcast. The best way for us to get people in the funnel is to target our ideal client who is also our ideal podcast guest. And by reaching out via LinkedIn, I connect with agency owners. I probably have 5 to 7 calls a week, which are just pre interview calls for podcast guests. And the reason that works for us is we're able to do a few things. As I'm reaching out to these people, I'm making them aware of the content that we're creating. And chances are a small percentage of them will start to consume it. And that's the goal.
Mhm.
Consumption is the goal. Secondly, some of them will respond and say, "Hey, that sounds like fun. That sounds like something I'd like to do." So what do? They jump on a call with me. I get an opportunity to make some sort of connection, just very friendly, non-confrontational. I'm not there to sell them a damn thing. We're just here to meet and say hello and see if we like each other. And then they'll do a podcast episode with us. They'll record an episode and then they end up in a little bit of an email funnel from there where we'll share case stories and oftentimes people will say, "Hey, you guys have that mastermind thing. I'd love to hear more about that, or I'd love to learn more about that." And that's great. That's just gravy. Because quite honestly, we're very genuine in our approach and the fact that we are looking to find great people that come on and share their stories and deliver value to the listening audience. That's the number one priority. But there's some ancillary benefits as well.
Mhm. It is. I listened to that podcast and have been in that group, and I do really have nothing but good things to say because it did help change my business. I found that with many things, you have to go and implement. And yeah, it's exceptional how your sales process was actually one of the best things I went through because it helped me. Yeah, it really helped me even if I didn't move forward. And that's sorry about the dogs. We have too many.
I was gonna say the Amazon man must be there. The Amazon universe.
They walk
That's
in
what
the gates.
that's that's what happens with mine. I have 3 and they go bananas anytime
Oh,
somebody comes to the front door. And I know you have about 6 times that many.
no, no, just 4, but one I will say one is a bit old now, so he is just like they set each other off, it's fun. Yes, and you moved, didn't you? You moved from Florida. Should tell a little bit
Hey,
it to where?
I'm in North Carolina now.
Okay, so more treed areas, yes?
Very much. Yeah, that
Oh,
was
I
big.
bet it's
As you can
lovely.
see from all of my background images, I got the trees everywhere. That's
Yeah, yeah, so that makes you calmer, and are you getting more people in your area that are joining? This is the mastermind for sales?
Not really. We're so location agnostic. We have members from honestly all over the world. We've got
It's
members in
true.
multiple countries, multiple continents. It's what we do is fairly universal in the sense of, you
And
know,
needed. I will
thank
say I am good friends with 2 women from that group still, and they are rock stars. We call ourselves the $1,000,000 Club. Just because that's where we're going. But it helps. It really did help. I wanna talk about how you get from an agency owner talking to you to or what agency owner's doing, like, in that circular process you have of because you identify their problems. Like, you're not as you said, you're not pitching, and that makes it really comfortable. So are you giving away information? People will like, did people take advantage of that? Tell me how it flows, like, where you're not
okay.
getting taken advantage of. We all know scope creep, it happens in sales calls.
Well, it's almost like I set you up for that, which I didn't, but it was perfect because this is something that we harp on constantly within the group, which you'll remember is that foot in the door offer, right? That strategy session that we do with a prospect is a paid engagement. It's very inexpensive. It's fully refundable if for any reason you feel like it sucked. If you get on a 90-minute call with me and I don't deliver on the promise and you feel for any reason I didn't, we'll give you the money back. But that's how we prevent people from taking advantage of that because I'm a firm believer that people enter a sales cycle for two reasons. They're either curious or they have intent, period. That's it. So as long as you're willing to satisfy a curiosity and there's no resistance introduced at any point in that process, that person is going to continue to take and take as much as you're willing to give until there's something layered in where they have to make a decision, whether that's to make a small investment, do some homework, provide you with some more detailed, important information to where they actually have to put some effort in until you layer in some sort of resistance. A curious prospect will take as much as you're willing to give. And that's where people fall into that trap of over delivering and giving free guidance and free strategy and free advice because the curious prospects, that's the only reason they're there. They never came with buying intent. My wife looks at RVs all the time, and we're not buying an RV anytime soon, but she's in the curious stage. Lots of people are in the curious stage. So the way you separate out people who are in the intent stage is to layer in a little resistance, right? Which we call our foot in the door offer. Just a small investment where you're going to deliver on some substantial value. They're going to get something that they can use without question, with or without you, beyond that stage. It's just a great litmus test to get people out of the way that are there for no other reason than to satisfy a curiosity.
I like that too, and it does you do so what does the person walk away with? So take the process is, I reach out to you, and
Mhm,
then we hop on a call. We figure we get along, it's probably a quick call, yeah?
mhm.
And then we set up a next call, and I'm in the buying process there. I have to buy the next call, but I'm getting a strategy or a
Exactly.
okay, and a
Precisely.
strategy
So
to help me with my specific problem.
correct. The way I position it is that we're going to spend 90 minutes building a scaling plan together. And I think that's one of the most important parts about being effective with some sort of offer like this is it has to be interactive. It has to be something that you're doing together because then there's emotional attachment, there's buy-in. You feel like you're a creator of this. The things are going to connect with you because it's a piece of you and you want that connection point. But sorry, I went off on a tangent as I always do.
Love this.
But so I'll position it as, look, we're going to build a scaling plan together. By the time my goal for that call is to do a few things. Number one, I'm going to give you some reassurance and some validation to some of the issues that you already know you have. But on top of that, we're going to layer in some potential solutions and maybe some underlying issues on why those exist. The other thing I want to do is bring to light some things that you probably weren't aware of. Through that process, I'm going to make you aware of some other gaps or some other holes that you have that maybe weren't necessarily a priority but probably should be. And we're going to discuss why. And then finally, by the time it's all said and done, we're going to have a nice little list of what things you should be addressing, in what order, and why to overcome some of the challenges that you're facing right now. So I think the big difference I like to say here is this is the difference between providing a service and providing a solution. If you're providing a service, that's a commodity. You can get email marketing, you can get PPC, you can get ads, you can get these are services. There, there's a million people out there that will happily sell it to you. Until you're providing a solution, you're not really connecting in the way that you need to be to get a decision in some instances or decisions from the right people.
Mhm.
So I think that's, and again, in order to provide a solution, you have to be able to position yourself as a trusted advisor. You have to be able to provide value. You have to be able to demonstrate that you're here to provide something that's specific to you and your need beyond what just the service is in itself.
Isn't that funny? Because that's what's gonna set people apart. I think in the next phase of marketing and where we're going, I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing a lot of people who are strategists coming into the market because 'cause they've lost their job somewhere, and so they know how to tell people what to do,
Yeah.
but they're not an implementer. And so as we see this come into the market, we're gonna see shifts. And as we see shifts, we're gonna have to have different real differentiators now between what makes a great agency and what makes a good one. And I think it'll be like real estate agents, like the strong will survive, maybe. Oh, wait, oh, working on my comment structure. Look at that. Oh, we have Phelan saying there's been a lot of change in the agency space recently. Are you seeing that, Darby? Do you see it in your sales process too?
A little bit. We're seeing it from a lot of people just they're like you said at at the top of the call, they're having to fight to keep the relationships they already have. And it's a crowded space. We all know that. It's immensely crowded.
Low
So
barrier to
you
entry.
have to correct. So you have to have a differentiator. And like you were just saying with the strategist thing, I'll take a strategist over a closer any day of the week, right?
Interesting.
Because for me, a closer just carries a little bit of a negative connotation because a closer means that you have a selfish goal in mind, and that is to close, and that benefits you and nobody else. So if you're providing strategy and you're providing solutions, there's a mutual benefit there. And I think that's important. Closers are great when you're selling widgets, right? Because once the sale's done, it's a done deal. They've got their product, they move on. You don't have to look them in the face
Mhm.
anymore. Whether they're happy or not with their purchase after the fact bears no weight on you.
Yeah.
Whereas in what we do in a service-based business, when you actually give a shit about the people that you're working with getting the results that they came for, the worst thing you can do is be a closer because you're going to push people into decisions that they necessarily weren't ready to make. And
Mm.
that's a recipe for early churn. That's a recipe for a bad relationship. Those are the things that I just had a blueprint session with somebody last week, and we discussed this ad nauseum because his salesperson is doing a good job, they feel like, but they're seeing a lot of clients churn pretty quickly. And I think that's an element of that is not setting proper expectations during the sales process, not making it clear what the path looks like, and then now you're 2 3 months in and this is nothing like what I signed up for because you were pushed into a close instead of making an informed decision for a solution.
Ah, yes, so not rushing maybe, right? Giving people the space to make the decisions they need to make. It's really interesting. One of the main things we sell is a measure setup. And in that, people get an outcome, but what they don't realize is that outcome benefits them for years to come. Bec but it's so strange because a the outcome we give them is almost a piece of paper with a bunch of graphs on it. And they're like, "What is this?" We're like, "No, this is really like, we've dialed all the buttons over here to create this so that you never have to worry about dialing the buttons." And, it's a very hard thing to sell because it benefits you in the future because it makes you make data-driven decisions, but the value is in the long-term relationship because then they learn what a session is and how long it is or, like, what we're measuring as a lead, and they learn, and that's the thing. We've had some clients for 7 years, which we're very fortunate.
Mhm.
I have a joke, I say we had one of our team members ask me, "How long do clients stay?" And I was like, "We like to say we're like accountants, 7 years or until you're dead." That's what we want. And it works, but the reason it works is because it's a relationship. It
Exactly.
and we're not just, like, "Oh, no, we only do Google Ads." "Oh, you need that? Okay, let's see what we can do." And yeah, and as we grow, we don't give away everything, but we definitely document everything we do for our
Mm.
clients so that we can show our value. Because it's not just in leads and conversions, it's in education, relationship. Marketing is a huge field now, right? And so what is the ideal customer coming to you? Like, how do you know they're the ideal one for you when they're getting in touch with you?
That's tough. That's a big part of the reason that we do the blueprint process is we want to be selective in the people that we work with. And there's a lot of organizations that say that and they market scarcity and exclusivity and it's a pile of crap. But we want to make sure that we would rather generate less revenue and work with people that are going to get results, right? We want You can sign up for the gym membership all day long, but if you don't get your ass on the treadmill, you're never going to get in shape, right? We have no interest in selling gym memberships. We want people that are going to come and put in the work. Um,
It's huge.
our ideal person is a contributor, someone that sees and understands the value in helping others and being transparent and being vulnerable and sharing, hey, these are the experiences that I've had and these are the things that I've learned and these are the decisions I've made and these are some of the things that I wish I could take back or I would do differently. And to be able to share that with someone else that's on a similar path to help them avoid some of those mistakes, that's the type of person that fits in best with what we do. Um,
Oh my gosh, I was ideal.
I, and
I will tell you, I do have to plug you for a minute. So anybody out there listening, I was part of this agency mastermind. It was life-changing. I sold my biggest website project I ever sold. I changed my systems. I avoided hiring somebody and spending so much money before I was ready because it's not just and I'm not plugging anyone
it
to
was going to
go
be a salesperson too.
it was gonna be a salesperson. And so it's a team of people behind it, but if you're looking to grow, one of the best things I did for my career so far was joining a mastermind of other agency owners. It was brilliant. So if you get an opportunity, I would say do it, but because it can be life-changing, and it was, and this is a big plug. I'm not in the group right now because I have to go implement, but I know people that still are in the group, and everybody is just doing so great, and I really miss it. Anyway,
That
um,
that was very kind. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. You were a phenomenal member and a textbook example of what it is that we look for because that's what makes what we do work, right? Because the value in what we have is 100% contingent upon the people that we have in it. And
mhm.
if there are egos or if there are bullshit artists or people who are highly competitive, it ruins the dynamic. It
It's
just
funny.
you and you gotta have the right people,
Yeah.
and you're one of those people, and we miss you.
Yeah, oh, okay, so we're gonna talk after this, guys, but, I will tell you, so if you're doing sales, if you're struggling with sales, we're gonna ask Darby one more question probably, maybe 2, but the question is, Darby, what is your favorite sales book?
Oh, geez.
Oh, damn. Or favorite person to follow for sales, maybe.
See, I quite honestly don't get into that shit very much.
No Grant Cardone for you?
I
So
would say The Perfect Close by James Muir is a really good one, and it's really all about not being a closer, and the title is a little deceptive. It really speaks to the ability to deliver value and all of the kind of things that I spoke about so far. So I'd say that's good. Gap Selling by Keenan is pretty decent. If you're on Audible, it's a little tough because his voice is really abrasive, and after the first couple of chapters, you can settle into it, but it's a rough
it
go in the early going, but there's some concepts and things in there that are good and make sense. I would say those are probably the 2 that I would have to lean on. But if I'm gonna plug any book, so my good friend Ian, who with
to no
me,
iron.
it's by a guy named Oliver Berkman. It's called I always say the number wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 4,000 Hours, Mortal's Guide to Time Management. And it's a little bit philosophical, but it's all about making decisions based on what's important, right? Anytime you decide to say yes, it's also a decision to say no to something else. And
That's
really
huge.
knowing and understanding what's important to you in your life and where you want to go and what you want that to be and how that can be a guiding light towards your decision making, which again is time management, right? A yes to something is a no to something else. And really getting a good introspective look at that. Incredible
Huge.
book. That's my favorite.
Okay, and why did Ian recommends it? Ian wrote it.
No, Ian recommended it to me. He's always recommending something, but that
I
was one of
see.
them. Yes. Oh, Ian's a voracious reader. Like he's ridiculous.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh,
What's missing, I will say, in the world out there? A really good book club that's not if you type in book club online, you'll get this. It's an agency sales tool for this company for sure, but it's crap. It looks like it's from the 80s. But yeah, who doesn't love good books? Oh, we have hello, Gwen. We're talking agency sales today. Thanks for joining us. It's almost over though. We're out of here in a minute, but I do want to give Darby a minute to say where to go if people are looking for agency sales or learning more about what you do and how to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So agency360.com is the website, all kinds of stuff there about all kind of cool lead magnets, things that can help you right now. If you want some help, there's a great budget buster that I'd highly recommend helping you get the client's budget every time. We've had so many people tell us how helpful that's been to
Ooh, I
them.
want
So
that.
I strongly recommend that. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm not a huge
You're not there all the
consistent
time, is that what you're
poster
saying?
there. I'm there all the time, but I don't know. I post infrequently, but
Fair.
I try.
Lurker.
Yeah, I am very much a lurker. Connect with me there or any there's just reach out. If and again, we're a helpful resource. We try to be helpful as much as we
Yeah, yeah,
can.
yeah.
We're not really and we're interested in selling shit, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we can help you, just I'll jump on a call and help anybody anytime with asking zero in return.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the reasons we did our course, so we have our mastermind in our course, and we ended up giving away half of our course to help the people that couldn't afford to work with us. And that was another agency win for you guys because that was because of that was actually because of Mark in the group. Gwen is saying she's just working on some stuff. She'll be back in a bit. Yes, come back. Watch this if you want to learn about sales, Gwen, because Darby's a rock star. I believe next week, do I need Darby? So every week I ask whoever's on here, what's the topic for next week? And I guess you're not going to know that. So our topic for it's June 6th.
I know.
My God. Okay, next week we're talking about interest ads on Facebook versus exposure ads on Google. So if you are looking to learn about ads and what you should do for your business or what you should try in your marketing, join us. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Darby.
Thank you. It was awesome.
All right. Bye, everybody.